are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Today is a video I'm literally so excited about. Today, we're gonna be playing with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. This is what she looks like. It's a little messy because I did swatch this. Okay, well, I don't need the brush. It's a little messy because I did swatch this last night just for myself, just to kind of see. This is what she looks like. This palette has been everywhere, and a lot of people asked me to review it, and I don't want to say I collect Anastasia palettes because I don't really collect anything, but if I were to collect something, it would be Anastasia palettes. Like, I don't have the subculture, but I have all of their other more recent palettes. I saw this and I was really excited. Anastasia has not really done a super colorful palette before, so I'm super excited to play with this. I have not used it at all yet, so this is definitely a first impression, and then I think next week I'll touch base with you guys about like what I think about this. The other thing I wanted to play with too, you'll notice that I'm a little bit less done up than I normally am for Tutorial Tuesday, and that's because I also got their new dipbrow pomade gel, and I kind of wanted to play around with this, and then I also got their loose highlighter in So Hollywood, and I actually used this and this yesterday and live. So we're gonna play with these two, but without further ado, let's just zoom in and get to playing with this. I'm really excited. I've been waiting. I was nervous it wasn't gonna come in time, so I'm really excited that I can get this up on Tuesday. First, I just want to use the dipbrow gel so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. I did get the shade dark brown. Normally in the pomade, like the actual dipbrow pomade, I'm in the shade chocolate. So this might be a little bit darker for me, but I actually like it because my hair is a little bit darker than it has been the past 2 years. So I think I'm gonna start with this brow. Ignore my brows. They're like a little, I gotta get them done again, but I'm just gonna take this. This is kind of what the wand looks like. I've seen some people take like a pomade brush and use that first, but I kind of wanted it to be just sort of a gel. It's very pigmented, just from what I know about using it yesterday, but it's also very defining, just easy to brush through and give your brows some like definition. I kind of wanted something that was similar to what that Urban Decay brow pomade I've been using. It's like a brow and define brow gel that's really pigmented and nice, and I think this is gonna be it. This brow is just my better brow, so I think it looks better, but it's so simple, and I think you could definitely do the thing where you like take a brush and actually use it as like a pomade, but I don't know, I feel like it's a brow gel, so I want to use it as a brow gel. There's some hair up here and it got on that hair and now it looks dumb. It's fine. I'm not gonna stress about it. That's still a new product, so I want to figure out how to play with it, but I wanted to show you guys just like the pigmentation of it and the difference between the brows. So now we're gonna get into the star. I'm so excited about this palette. Okay, I kind of want to play with a couple different shades, so let's just get going. I'm gonna take a big fluffy brush and first just go into this shade Sail, which is this pure white shade. I love a matte white. Anastasia is usually pretty good about putting a matte white in all of their palettes, and I love using them as a base. Just rubbing this literally all over my eye. Definitely a lot of kickback with this particular shade, and probably with most of the matte shades, but the Anastasia formula typically has a bit of kickback. I'm gonna go in then with this shade Estate and just pop that in the crease just to get a definite sort of crease color. You guys can see the fallout with that. Not terrible, not great. It's kind of just how Anastasia's formula is. While I am definitely excited that Anastasia put out a more brights palette, like I'm very excited obviously that they put out a brights palette, I will say that I have a couple of brights palettes that I just absolutely like live for and love. And while I'm excited because the Anastasia formula is one of my favorites, I'm worried that, and I don't know if this is true, but I'm slightly worried that their formula might not transfer well for these really bright colors. And also, if you look at this palette, it's still relatively neutral. There's just quite a few more pops than you would normally. It's not the pop effect, but it's not like a full-on brights palette. Like these colors right here are very neutral. This brown is very neutral. The only colorful ones you really have, Seaside is pretty neutral too. So these two, and these three are kind of like the brights. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I wouldn't call this like a full-on brights palette. But I also wouldn't call it a neutral. I don't really know what I would call it. It's kind of like a hybrid. I'm gonna go in with Coastline, this kind of orangey color, and I'm gonna put that on my crease as well. And I'm just kind of prepping right now to put the bright colors in because I'm going to start playing with that pink and purple soon. However, because it's kind of a crossover between a brights palette and a neutral palette, I do feel like more people might get some use out of this. It's not as intimidating as like the Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette, which is probably my all-time favorite brights palette. Like, I just love it. I'm gonna use a fluffier brush, a little bit bigger and fluffier, because I kind of want it to go up. The Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette, though, I can understand why that might be intimidating for somebody who just wants to kind of use like pops of color and play with color, whereas this is more user-friendly for somebody who doesn't need like a full-on crazy brights palette because they're not doing these crazy looks, but also to have the neutrals in there to make it simple to use. Does that make sense? First, I'm going to go in with the shade Monte Carlo, and I'm going to take a smaller blending brush. I think this one's from Morphe. I'm going to go into Monte Carlo, this lighter pink, and I'm just going to put that on my like inner corner here. And I'm really just focusing this on the inner corner. That's a pretty like flamingo color, and you don't really think it's going to be in the pan. Very, very bright and nice. All right, and then I'm going to go into with the same brush. I'm going to go in with the shade Bahama, which is that bright pink that like catches everyone's eye. Kind of pack it on first and then blend with the middle of the crease. That one's a little patchy. That one's a little bit patchy. Let me use a different brush. I'm going to use a more tapered brush, and it's a little bit fluffier, and I'm hoping that'll help blend it out a little bit more. Okay, so this brush works a lot better than the other brush. Something that's a little bit fluffier. That more tapered brush that wasn't as fluffy wasn't really doing the trick. That's the thing with Anastasia palettes, which can be very frustrating even for me, and is the reason I don't like Norvina, is just the fact that sometimes their palettes, you have to like work with them. I think for people who don't necessarily want to be like professional makeup artists, that can be a little frustrating to use their palettes because it's like they just don't always work right away, like with techniques that you know. So you have to play around with them, and that's just something to be aware of. I think the most user-friendly, I'm gonna go in with Canis. In my opinion, the most user-friendly Anastasia palettes are obviously Modern Renaissance, but I also think Soft Glam doesn't get enough credit for kind of how user-friendly it is. The shades just blend the way you want them to blend and work really beautifully. And I also think if you like shimmer, Sultry is a fantastic palette as well. Whereas these types of palettes, like Prism, Subculture, this one I can already tell, Norvina, the formula's a little bit harder to work with. You have to play around with it and figure out brushes and techniques that might work best for it. And for some people that's totally fine and expected, and for other people that's like super frustrating. So that's just something to note. That pink and that purple blended together really, really nicely. I think the thing about Anastasia too is, and something that I don't mean to be like crap talking the brand, I just want to be honest, because they do get a lot of hype, and I think the hype is well deserved because I think the palettes are good, but I don't think they're consistently good, but they're not consistent, if that makes sense. They switch up formulas, they switch up the way at least in my opinion, they switch up how like palettes perform. And that can kind of be, as someone who loves their brand, like I don't really mind that, but I don't see a ton of people ever talking about that type of stuff. And I feel like it's important to note that just because you love one Anastasia palette doesn't mean you're gonna love the other Anastasia palettes. I am gonna go back in with more of a packer brush and go back into Monte Carlo, that light pink, because I kind of feel like I lost it. And I'm just gonna pack that on my inner corner just to really brighten it. And I think this looks beautiful right now. I'm gonna go in with a brush that has no color, and I'm just going to kind of buff out my edges here so they're not as harsh. Just a little bit more diffused, less, I don't know if you can actually see the difference, but to me, this brow is so messed up and I don't know what happened, and I'm so sorry. I think it's because I need to get my brows done. This one looks amazing, but this one is so messed up. I feel like this one looks a little bit more diffused and a little less blocky, and this one looks a little bit more blocky. So it's good to just go in with a brush that has no color on it. Just blend for like 10 to 15 seconds all across the upper part of your crease. It doesn't need to be super blown out or crazy, but I think it can help make things look not as intense. Yeah, like that's a little bit better. It's still fun and exciting, but I've had a cold for literally 3 weeks and it's so annoying. I think I'm gonna go in with this Shimmer Mediterranean, and I might also include Seaside. I might go in with like Mediterranean first and then a little bit of Seaside on the outer. So let's start with Mediterranean. I'm not gonna cut my crease at all because I kind of just want to play around without doing all of that first. When I first get an impression of a palette, I like to do it just like bare bones and then kind of work my way into stuff like cut creases and all that. That's really, really, really pretty. It's like a lilac-y. It's a lot more, it pulls a lot more purple than blue. That is so pretty. I really like that. That's super, super, super pretty. It's like a beautiful lilac color. I might be biased because lilac is one of my favorite colors, but like, man, that's gorgeous. There was a tiny bit of fallout from that, just even after wetting the brush and kind of trying to drag it instead of pat it on. However, there is not nearly as much fallout as there was when I was working with the Norvina palette. So that's a good thing because that was a huge drawback for me, was how much fallout there was. This is still a little bit, but it's a normal amount of fallout on my eyes for a shimmer shade. I think I'm actually gonna go in with the pink shade. I'm just kind of feeling it. And that is the shade Palermo right here, that bright pink, and I'm gonna spray it again. I'm using my Luminous Dewy Skin Mist from Tatcha because I tend to think that luminous mists along with like shimmer shades is really pretty, but I also feel like you could use literally water to like make this work. You don't need like a fancy mist. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. That is a really chrome like pink. Has more fallout for sure than the purple shade did, but still not a ton, like a decent amount. You guys can see the fallout before I wipe it away. Right in here and right in here. That one left a little bit. But that's something you could clean up with concealer. This might be a palette that you're gonna wanna put powder down. I'm gonna dip back into Canis and I'm just going to kind of deepen it up with the shimmer. I'm not wowed, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not wowed by the pigmentation, but by no means do I think it's bad. I think it's the ABH formula with brights. However, I don't know how well it transfers with brights as other palettes do. I think with brights sometimes you need a little bit more of a stiffer formula, and ABH's formula is very powdery and soft. And while I think this is good, and I think if you want to be able to play with pinks and purples but you're kind of newer, this is the first time I think I've ever recommended an Anastasia palette for like a beginner, but if you're newer to color and you want something that's a little bit easier and not hyper pigmented to blend, I think this would be a good palette. I'm just gonna take with a flat top brush, I'm gonna go in with Coastline and just pat it over where the two shimmers meet. It's a matte pink, but I think it's gonna help blend those two together so they're not like harsh. Yeah, that looks a lot better. A pencil brush, and we'll go in with Coastline first. It's kind of weird. I feel like this palette would need to be for somebody kind of specific. Like, it would be good, a beginner could definitely use this with ease if they had patience to figure out the strategies that work best with the shadows. But if you're a beginner who doesn't even know like different brushes do different things, I don't think this would work for you. However, I think if you have a lot of makeup and you have other really bright palettes, this might be a tiny bit of a disappointment because while it's pigmented, it's not like crazy. I actually think that the shimmers are really quite beautiful. I'm a fan of this shade Mediterranean right here. That's more of a lilac-y purple. I think that's really stunning actually, which is nice. And I actually loved the pink I used as well. And swatching these last night, I think they're really nice. They are a little bit more of a chunky metallic, but that doesn't bother me at all. I am just gonna put on my lashes and everything else. I'm not even gonna really bother to fix this pink right here because I don't care, but, and then we'll be right back to do like the finished look. And I'll show you guys how the highlighter performs because this is probably my favorite thing I bought from the whole collection. This is beautiful. I feel like I look dumb with the way that the bottom looks because of the fallout, but I'm gonna use this ABH, their kind of shimmery loose highlighter. It's stunning, like in the pan. It's stunning. So beautiful. And this is also huge. Like just a face comparison, it's bigger than my eyeball. Like this thing is massive. You get a lot more product than I thought you did, which I love. I'm gonna take my highlighter brush and just show you guys. If you don't like glitter, I don't think you're gonna like this because it is very glittery. It kind of reminds me of, it's a loose version of the Dream Glow Kit formula. It's very glowy and luminous and pretty, but it's also got a little bit of shimmer and texture to it. I think it's beautiful. I think the color is gorgeous. Also work on a lot of different skin tones, which I like. So gorgeous. And the packaging is beautiful. Like this is so pretty. I love it. All right, let me throw in the gloss and then we'll be done with this look. All right, so this is the finished eyeshadow look. You guys can kind of see what we're working with here. I think it's actually a really cute, nice look, especially for first impressions, just playing around with it for the first time. I actually think it came out really cute. I think I would like to play with it more, play around with cut creases, play around with maybe a halo eye, try to use it a little bit, and then next week I'll have a really informed opinion for you guys. This was just kind of playing around. Definitely I'm going to use powder when I use this palette so I don't get that fallout that you guys can kind of clearly see. And I also want to work on figuring out how to get the brow more consistent, because this brow I think looks amazing, while this one is crusty. And the highlighter, I mean, I love. I think overall though, the eyeshadow is really pretty. I like it quite a lot. I would be like excited to wear this. I think it's nice. So that is it for today's video, friends. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it was fun. I hope you got a cool idea of kind of how the Riviera performs. Definitely next Tutorial Tuesday, before we jump into the other palette, I'm going to talk about this one, give you a more informed review after a week of use. So if you want to check that out, check that out. And I got the shampoo and conditioner from a brand called Nature Lab through Octoly. And honestly, okay, so you look at this and it looks, first of all, the packaging is super cute and cool. Like I really loved the packaging. But you look at this and it seems like I used it a lot. I only used it for like a week. You needed so much. I'm sorry I'm throwing this in here, but I couldn't think of an organic way to like throw these in. So I'm just putting them in here. But if you don't care about those, you can skip to the end. But I didn't like these at all. If you were ever looking into buying these, I think they're cool. They would appeal to people who like more aesthetically pleasing stuff. It made my hair not good. It made it very greasy and kind of gross. It didn't really do anything to clean my hair, and you needed so much product to even get like cover. I have long hair, but like I usually need like 2 to 3 pumps of my normal shampoo and conditioner. And with this, I needed like 6 or 7. It was a lot, and I was using a lot and not really using it for a long time, and I don't feel like you get a ton of product. I didn't love these. So if you were looking into these, maybe it's just the kind I got. Maybe if I got a different kind, I got this Perfect Smooth shampoo and Perfect Smooth conditioner. So maybe if I tried like a different kind, I like the bottles though, and I like the concept, but they just did not work for me. So that is that on that. And without further ado, we're done. I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just like, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!